To the eternally curious, unapologetically superstitious Midnight Society rejects, Stormy Willow welcomes you. We are the eccentric coots, storytellers, explorers, dabblers, practitioners, and paranormal pupils who examine the what's ifs, the what's that's, and WTFs of this dimension and beyond.
Hello and welcome to the Stormy Willow podcast. We're your paranormal podcasting sisters, Sarah here in South Carolina and my sister Adele in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Hello, Adele.
Hello.
Do you like how I did like a game show? Like, you're the next contestant on The Price is Right.
Yeah, you didn't say come on down.
Come on
I was
down.
waiting for that. Okay, it's okay. Next time.
That's right. Next, I have to think of ways to change this up each time. But if you're new to our podcast, we talk about all the things paranormal and strange and weird and all of that fun stuff that we love.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that is who we are. And we're so glad that if you're new, we're glad that you found us. And if we actually have recurring listeners, oh my gosh, we're so surprised and welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for sticking around.
Right. Oh my goodness. How are you doing? It's the weekend, the last day of the weekend.
Yeah, the weekend always goes by too fast.
It really does. It really does.
Yeah, we just did a lot of stuff in the yard this weekend, like
Nice.
trying to get ready for summertime, make like a desert oasis out there.
I love it. I love it. We are in the thick of the Come See Me Festival here in Rock Hill. So I got to run a 5K on Saturday and just have a lot of fun things around town. So it's been really great. The weather's been nice. It's been a lot of fun. So I've enjoyed it other than being sick. So if you notice, my voice is a little different today. I've gotten hit with the crud. Stephen had it the first part of the week and I got it the second part. So it's just sinuses, all that fun stuff. So I've got my water here, staying hydrated, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you're presenting the story today. So I sound a little funky. Funkier than usual. You guys get to hear a southern accent that is threatened by allergies, so I apologize.
Yeah.
I might need to have captions up.
That actually is something I would like to work on, adding to our show, just as some updates. So I'm gonna hopefully have captions on our YouTube.
I think that would be really awesome. That would be very inclusive.
Yeah, and then I'll go back and retroactively do the old ones and add the captions, because
I think that would be cool.
Definitely want our hard of hearing or deaf community friends to be able to enjoy the show as well.
Absolutely. Yes. I like it.
Yeah. Well, I think you know what topic I'm covering.
I think I do, but I don't really know much about this topic, I have to say.
Oh, good. This topic is so much more fun, actually, if you don't know about it.
Oh, well, good. You'll get some live reaction here from me.
Yeah. So it's a pretty simple story and thing, but I'm going to be talking about the rake today.
As in like a rake, like R-A-K-E, like you rake your leaves with.
Yeah.
Spelling, but
it's called the rake.
Different thing.
Yeah, it's this like tall thing with a wooden handle. Just kidding. No, this is a humanoid cryptid kind of creature.
A humanoid cryptid. Okay, I'm down. All right, let's hear about the rake.
All right, let's hop into it.
Let's do it.
Let's jump into it like a bag of leaves.
That was good.
We're full of jokes.
Herman just left after you cracked that joke. He just hightailed it out of the studio. He said, no, ma'am.
Sorry, guys. I'm not drinking today, so
I'm not either. So that wasn't very funny.
Yeah,
it fell flat.
Although probably most of my jokes are never funny. It's just if I'm drinking, I think they are.
Yeah, this is true. Same here. Just water today.
Yeah, we're keeping it easy on a Sunday since we have day
Nice.
jobs.
That's very true. If
Um,
we never had to do this for a full-time job, oh my God, we might be alcoholics.
yeah.
Dangerous.
Maybe the lack of success is really a good thing from the universe.
Universe knows what's best. And
Yeah,
maybe that it just universally we couldn't handle the success. So
yeah.
it
It's
was
just
for
like,
our own
you know
good.
what? You're not ready for it.
It wasn't nice. It was
Uh, well, that being said, how about just a description of what the rake looks like?
okay, I'm
Um,
ready.
if you do just Google the rake, you'll see like this super creepy picture of this
Oh,
kind of skeletal
is that
looking,
what you want me to do?
really, yeah, if you want to, really
Okay.
pale looking thing with like glowing white eyes. That's the picture that I know of as the rake.
Okay.
So as you're looking that up,
Ew.
so it's called the rake because it has long rake like claws. That's kind of how it got its name. It's
Makes
reported
sense.
to be 6 to 7 feet tall. It's usually
Okay.
kind of slouched position, kind of like hunched over.
Right.
Very, very pale. It walks on all fours.
It almost looks like a monster.
Yeah,
And it looks like maybe somebody captured it on the news.
yeah. So
Really weird.
it's kind
Okay.
of a creepy looking thing.
Really is.
It
Like,
also supposedly has like a blank face, that meaning like no mouth or nose.
yeah,
So
that's
it
what
kind
it's
of,
like.
I think it looks like a skull, kind of like its face
It
does.
it does it kind of looks like it sort of looks like a skeleton,
Yeah,
but kind of a monster.
yeah.
It's really weird. Obviously, I mean, there looks like there's a movie,
Oh yeah,
right?
it blew up in the early 2000s, and we'll get
Okay.
into that explosion of it. Also, I think I've heard it's kind of like morphed over the years. So that picture clearly doesn't have three eyes, but supposedly it's supposed to
Yeah,
have three eyes, like one like in the middle of its forehead, and then like two on the sides of its head, so it can like observe. But
that's creepy.
I've heard some cases where the eyes are really, really green, other cases where they're just really, really bright,
I see some pictures where they look a little green.
and then
They just
some
look, and
to
some of
where
them
they're
are
just
like
like,
little black holes.
yeah, and then other reports are they're just like black, empty orb, you know,
Ew.
yeah,
I like how this YouTube says the rake creature feature.
yes, yes.
Reminds me of double feature. Ooh. Sorry. Any chance to break into
I know you always have to take it
sorry.
back to Rocky
Bring it
Theater.
back. But yeah, the rake. Ew.
Yeah,
Creepy. Very like I can't tell. It's like, is it an animal? Is it a person? Is it a
yeah, that too. So
what is
also,
it?
it's been reported as looking like a hairless dog, but also like a naked humanoid
Yeah,
creature.
true.
This is another part which just sounds creepy, and I can't imagine what this would actually look like. So it's supposed to have like a hinged skull that acts like a mouth. So essentially, it like
Like a
opens
Pez
at
dispenser.
the chin. Yeah, I guess.
Like a Pez
And then
dispenser.
it has like little teeth when it does that.
Okay, this is not scary anymore.
Yeah, well, okay.
I
Now
think
if you
we
pictured it as a
have
giant Pez,
a giant Pez dispenser coming for me, like for real. I
yeah. Like,
wonder if they make, hang on.
are you gonna see if they make a Pez
I
dispenser out of
sure
it?
am. A Pez dispenser of the rake.
No, we're trademarking that.
Yeah, the rake Pez dispenser. Only on Stormy Willow.
You know, hey, listeners, do you want this to be a thing? We will do our best to make it happen if you're interested in a
Listen,
rate
I'm
as
not seeing it.
okay. Well, trademark.
Trademark right here. You heard it. It could
um,
be like our Halloween gift to you all.
so the rate was popularized in 2003 because of sightings in Northeast US, mostly around upstate New York.
Okay.
So it's a Yankee.
So I'm good. Is that
You're
what you're
good.
saying? And you're okay too.
Yeah.
So our
Um,
northern friends, look out.
and then as backgrounds, now we're gonna get into kind of like the origin, maybe like the first accounts of this creature. So in 2006, a group of internet sleuths started compiling records of the rake, and including some of the details that I mentioned about how it looks and whatnot. But supposedly the government shut it down, and did like a media blackout, and most of
What?
the records were destroyed, and you can't find them now.
That's very interesting to me.
Yeah, we'll come back to that later.
I'm gonna put a pin in it.
Yeah. So while most of the records were destroyed or missing at this point, some have leaked. So it looks like the earliest account of a rake type figure was in 1691. And
Whoa,
yeah, in a mariner's log.
91.
Yeah, so a mariner's log in 1691, quote, he came to me in my sleep. From the foot of my bed, I felt a sensation. He took everything. We must return to England. We shall not return here again at the request of the rake. So that's pretty spooky.
Ooh.
Apparently, this crew had just arrived in the New World like a few weeks prior. And then,
And they're like, nope, no, thank you. Bye.
yeah. And then you'll notice the theme of this visitation, it seems like, while you're sleeping.
Well, do you think the rake maybe has some Native American ties to it?
So that's something curious to me, which we'll definitely get to later in the show because I
Okay.
have some theories.
Yeah, that's
But
what I'm
yeah,
feeling right
you
now.
can't help but think, is it a skinwalker? Right?
It's sounding a little skinwalkerish to me.
Yeah. So that was 1691. And then there was a Spanish journal entry in 1880, and it was translated apparently. So in this journal entry, it said, I have experienced the greatest terror. I have experienced the greatest terror. I have experienced the greatest terror. I
Okay, we get
see.
it.
We get it.
Do you
What is
think that
that?
you think that the writer was terrified? I'm just a feeling.
Did they? Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe. A little bit scared.
Yeah, I might be reading in between the lines, but I'm feeling terror.
So I'll say it, Bryce. Then after we understand that they're terrified, I see his eyes when I close mine. They are hollow, black. They saw me and pierced me. His wet hand, I will not sleep. His voice. Yeah,
Okay.
creepy. Okay, yeah. So not a good experience. Also sounds like around bedtime, right?
Very
Then,
skinwalkerish.
right? And then we have a suicide note in 1964,
Oh
supposedly.
no.
So it says, as I prepare to take my life, I feel it necessary to assuage any guilt or pain I have introduced through this act. It is not the fault of anyone other than him.
Oh.
For once I awoke and felt his presence, and once I awoke and saw his form. Once again I awoke and heard his voice and looked into his eyes. I cannot sleep without fear of what I might next awake to experience. I cannot ever wake. Goodbye.
Oh.
Creepy and right?
I don't like that one bit.
No. And then this is a witness account in 2006. It's kind of long, and this will be fun because I barely read through any of it, so I'm just doing a quick
Fun.
reading on this one.
Improv.
So yeah, so witness count in 2006, 3 years ago. So I guess at that time it'd be 2003, which is when all these sightings and things started happening in New York. 3 years ago, I had just returned from a trip from Niagara Falls with my family for the 4th of July. We were all very exhausted after a long day of driving, so my husband and I put the kids right to bed and called it a night. At about 4 a.m., I woke up thinking my husband had gotten up to use the restroom. I used the moment to steal back the sheets. only to wake him in the process. I apologized and told him I thought he got out of bed. When he turned to face me, he gasped and pulled his feet up from the end of the bed so quickly his knees almost knocked me out of the bed. He then grabbed me and said nothing. After adjusting to the dark for a half second, I was able to see what caused the strange reaction. At the foot of the bed, sitting and facing away from us, there was what appeared to be a naked man or a large hairless dog of some sort. Its body position was disturbing and unnatural, as if it had been hit by a car or something.
Oh.
For some reason, I was not instantly frightened by it, but more concerned as to its condition. At this point, I was somewhat under the assumption that we were supposed to help him. My husband was peering over his arm and knee, tucked into the fetal position, occasionally glancing at me before returning to the creature. In a flurry of motion, the creature scrambled around the side of the bed and then crawled quickly in a flailing sort of motion right along the bed until it was less than a foot from my husband's face.
Ew.
The creature was completely silent for about 30 seconds. That's like actually a long ass time.
That's exactly what I was about to say. I'm like, that is, especially in a situation like that.
Yeah, like, ugh. Or probably closer to 5. It just seemed like a while. Okay. Just looking at my husband. Ew, so it's just staring at him and not. Ugh.
This seems like a boot hag a little bit too.
Right? It reminds me of a few different things.
Yes.
The creature then placed his hand on his knee and ran into the hallway leading to the kids' rooms. I screamed and ran for the light switch, planning to stop him before he hurt my children. When I got to the hallway, the light from the bedroom was enough to see it crouched and hunched over about 20 feet away. He turned around and looked directly at me, covered in blood.
Oh.
I flipped the switch on the wall and saw my daughter, Clara. The creature ran down the stairs while my husband and I rushed to help our daughter. She was very badly injured and spoke only once more in her short life. She said, "He is the Rake." What? My husband drove his car into a lake that night. While rushing our daughter to the hospital, they did not survive. Being a small... Wow. That's nuts. Being a small town, news got around pretty quickly. The police were helpful at first, and the local newspaper took a lot of interest as well. However, the story was never published, and the local television news never followed up either. For several months, my son Justin and I stayed in a hotel near my parents' house. After we decided to return home, I began looking for answers myself. I eventually located a man in the next town over who had a similar story. We got in contact and began talking about our experiences. He knew of 2 other people in New York who had seen the creature we now refer to as the Rake. It took the 4 of us about 2 solid years of hunting on the internet and writing letters to come up with a small collection of what we believe to be the accounts of the Rake. None of them gave any details, history, or follow-up. One journal had an entry involving the creature in its first 3 pages and never mentioned it again. A ship's log explained nothing of the encounter, saying only that they were told to leave by the Rake, so that's probably the mariner's story.
Yeah.
That was the last entry in the log. There were, however, many instances where the creature's visit was one of a series of visits with the same person. Multiple people also mentioned being spoken to, my daughter included. This led us to wonder if the Rake had visited any of us before our last encounter. I set up a digital recorder near my bed and left it running all night, every night for 2 weeks. I would tediously scan through the sounds of me rolling around in my bed each day when I woke up. By the end of the 2nd week, I was quite used to the occasional sound of sleep while blurring through the recording at 8 times the normal speed. This still took almost an hour every day. On the first day of the 3rd week, I thought I heard something different. What I found was a shrill voice. It was the Rake. I can't listen to it long enough to even begin to transcribe it. I haven't let anyone listen to it yet. All I know is that I've heard it before, and I now believe that it spoke when it was sitting in front of my husband. I don't remember hearing anything at the time, but for some reason, the voice on the recorder immediately brings me back to that moment.
Mm.
The thoughts that must have gone through my daughter's head make me very upset. I have not seen the rake since he ruined my life, but I know that he has been in my room while I slept. I know and fear that one night I'll wake up to see him staring at me.
Oh my God.
That's
That's
the
a
end of that
horrible
story.
story. I didn't see
Yeah.
that coming.
So, are you ready
Oh,
for a bombshell?
yeah.
We know for a fact this is all fake and the rake is fake. So the truth is that actually the rake was invented on 4chan way before 4chan became the creepy
Shut
bullshit
up.
that it is today. And
Look at my face.
I know that's why I said it's so much more fun if you don't know about the rake. But so yeah, apparently this group of people on 4chan they just decided that they wanted to create a cool creature like
But that's so messed up.
so all of the backstory and everything is supposedly fake, but by the time it hit like its popularity and became like a big and got big in creepypasta, people just adding to the story, editing
Okay,
it.
what is creepypasta? I
So
don't understand what that is.
creepypasta is essentially a website where it's just like people who love creatures and horror, and you can create your own stories. But why it's called a pasta, there are like pasta kind of things where it's like people will add on to it and kind of make it their own. And then by the time it's out there in the internet, it's kind of hard to decipher one, where did it originate? And two, what are the true
So it's
accounts?
just like one long spaghetti noodle.
Yeah, or it's kind of like how with pasta people add their own sauce or doctor it, and so it's almost like your own barbecue sauce even.
I gotcha.
That's why it's
I
a
just never
pasta.
understood that term. I'm like, what?
Yeah, because you're taking what essentially is a dish that everybody knows, but you're customizing it a little bit. Like you're adding your own little
This is so
special
stupid.
something.
Like, I really believed it.
Well, hang on though. No,
Bye, you guys. Thanks for listening to Stormy Willow.
all right, that's the end of the show forever.
Maybe we're creepy pasta.
Maybe we'll, but hang on, there gets to be more to it though, because all right, so that was like in the early
Well, I'm
2000s.
glad that that didn't really happen to her family. Jesus, take the wheel.
I'm gonna have to do this snippet
Almost
of when I dropped the
crying.
bombshell of just your reaction.
I was just like, that story, I was like in tears. And then I'm like,
Well, that's what's so. First of all, I kind of love it. Like, I love that they created a creature. Now it really is like an urban legend, like modern day stuff. Like a lot of
I
people
guess it
have
really
heard
is
the
a
rake.
movie and stuff too, or they make that, is that fake?
Well, okay, so yeah, I think I mean, I'm sure they've made it into a movie. Like the Slender Man, that's also a creepy pasta.
Yeah.
Um,
Which people got hurt, by the way.
yeah, we'll cover that a different time. But uh, I just think it's really cool that they were able to pull it off, and it got so big
Yes.
in the
Well,
early
like you see all
2000s.
these sightings and stuff, and you're like,
Right.
whoa.
So I read a most recent like cover on this in Paranormality magazine, which is awesome, by the way. If you've never checked out Paranormality magazine, definitely check it out. So I think it was just the other month they kind of did a spotlight on the rake and confirmed, yeah, it originated on 4chan thread. And you can even just, verifiably find that this is fake. It was created like, show the iterations of like, all right, maybe it could look like this. What do we call it? Like things like that. And it was really meant to be a creepy pasta. Like they wanted it to be a popular creature.
Yeah.
But then in this account, though, there were some actual sightings of the creature in California. Like, so
Well, what did they really see?
right? Or are these also fake? So now it gets into like that weird stuff of, okay, now I don't know what to believe.
Oh, exactly. Kind of like our political system. I
Yeah.
was gonna say, speaking of creepy pastas, there you go.
Yeah. So, and it's like I even looked up these locations. So I was like, all right, well, these towns are actually 20 minutes apart. I was like, so either somebody did their research to make it sound reasonable,
Right.
or people really seeing a creature that they think is the rake? Because a lot of people don't realize that the rake isn't real. Like, it's out there in pop culture now.
Yeah, I
You
literally
know?
just Googled it.
Yeah, right. You Google it, you see it. It seems like a real
It's like a
humanoid
Bigfoot kind of
cryptid.
thing. Yeah.
So I think that that's where kind of more of the fun and conversation comes in, because it's like, are people who think they are seeing a rake actually seeing like a skinwalker or something that you think might be real, or is
Or they're
everybody
just making the whole thing up in like a
crap?
studio somewhere. Yeah, like,
Right,
hey, let's
right.
put this like pretend.
So it's
It
pretty
really,
brilliant. I mean, the group of people that invented this creature, they did a fucking brilliant job,
I
in my
don't know.
opinion.
Like, yes, like on one hand, I see where it could be like brilliant, but I think it kind of sucks for the paranormal community because I feel like it's another way to make us look like a laughing stock. Look at all the stupid stuff you believe in, like aliens, they're not real, and things that I truly do believe are real. So, I'm kind of like I'm on the fence. Like, yeah, like good for you. Like, you created this creature or whatever. Good for you. Like, but you should maybe make a movie, not like, I just think it makes like what we do even that much harder to, I don't know. I don't like it. I don't dig it.
Yeah, I
I
can
don't
see
dig it one
that.
bit.
I can see
Feel
that.
bad about it.
You're still just mad about the
I
podcast.
am. I'm just being raw here. This is like raw emotion, not edited. I'm pissed
It
about
was
it.
like up there with that time we told you that Marshall's uncle was Larry Mullen.
No, it's not that bad.
But that was the worst thing we ever did.
Yeah, it was. It really was.
Well, just for the hell of it, would you like to hear about these supposed sightings in California?
I guess. I mean, no, not really.
Yeah,
Honestly, I
because
don't.
okay, I'm going to share them because these don't sound like the rake to me that we,
Okay.
based off the description of what we supposedly know as the real fake rake. That's what we're going to call this
The
thing.
real fake, right?
So supposedly there's some other sightings, mostly around northeastern California.
Okay.
So,
Sure.
so in this article from Paranormality magazine, one sighting was in Roseview Park in Antelope, California, and both of these towns are northeast of Sacramento.
Okay.
Probably a really nice area. So at 2 a.m., supposedly a humanoid figure was spotted at about 7 to 8 feet tall, and it was seen running from this park into fields that were adjacent to the park. The witness noted experiencing a strange calm when they spotted the creature, kind of like what that lady said, but we know that that was fake. And they said it was making guttural and inhuman yells, like you can hear from the park at night in general. And that's it for that one.
Okay.
So, fake, not fake.
It could have just been an
Misidentity.
animal that was hurt.
Yeah, I can tell you're just not having any of this.
I'm not. I don't like this one bit.
So these are real towns. I found them on the map, but I think it's interesting that these are the towns they chose, because one's Antelope, and to me, I'm like, okay, that has horns, and it instantly makes me think of skinwalkers, like almost as like a
Right.
at you, like. And then the next town is Loomis, California, and that makes me think of Halloween, Detective Loomis. So I'm almost like, are these just like
Gonna be funny.
or kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the Loomis, California sighting, this was near a wooded area on a remote road. And this also makes me think Skinwalker, because it's reported wearing a green shirt.
Oh, so
I'm like, this doesn't even sound like the rake.
okay.
It's wearing a green shirt. I don't know if it's wearing pants. Maybe no pants. It's Winnie the Poohing it in a green shirt.
Yeah, no.
And this too. So apparently locals call these things white walkers. I'm like, well, like from Game of Thrones.
White walkers. No.
As they have white
Little
faces.
streakers.
White Walkers is they have white faces and stringy black hair, which sounds to me more like in the Grudge, like that creepy girl.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I even wrote, is this really the same creature as the
It
Rake?
doesn't even sound like the same creature.
And in this account, a witness mentioned it seems similar to a skinwalker.
Oh,
So
so
I'm kind of thinking these are complete bullshit too.
it doesn't seem like a skinwalker to me. Like it just I don't know. And maybe I don't know.
I I don't think they
I
saw anything
I don't
personally.
either. I think they are just trying to. I don't know, Alec. I saw this
Yeah.
and just added like a little twist, like with the shirt. Like now it's wearing shirts.
Yeah, it's just like
Like
the clothes make. I'm like that
that
does
made
sound
me
more
kind of not. That
skinwalker,
kind of threw me off. I was like, a
but
green
just a
shirt.
shirt,
Yeah, I don't know.
which
I'm gonna
actually
say
makes
no.
it kind of hilarious.
I
Like,
mean, it is funny, but I'm like, like I don't
yeah,
know about that.
not. I'm not a believer.
I'm not either.
Um,
I don't like that.
and see, but this is what I'm talking about. So now it's like you have reports that. So the original stories I shared is like the origin of like
Right.
you know we know that that was fabricated by the people who created the rake, but now these other stories that come out, it's like it gets kind of into that creepy pasta thing. It's like, are these even really spottings of anything, or are people just making
Right.
this up?
But it's like I'm all for like, using your imagination, making up a story, but I don't like it in this sense. Like write a story, write a script.
Well, that too. So there's also some subreddits that I'm going to share as well. Just there again, we don't know if they're actual encounters of
Yeah.
something or just completely made up. It's a subreddit called Humanoid Encounters.
Ooh.
So I have two to share. Um, but yeah, there again, I know I've referenced the no sleep subreddit before with the staircases in the woods.
Right.
Now that subreddit in particular, that really is actually, whenever you read that subreddit, you're supposed to have the lens of, okay, I'm just going to assume everything's true. It's kind of what they want you to do. But there are fiction writers that do post on there. It's really just people who like creepy stories. And it's
Yeah.
kind of like
I
at the
just
end of the
think you
day,
have to be careful,
yeah,
like knowing your audience and knowing like what kind of site you're writing for.
yeah,
Just because, it can get dangerous, just like Slender Man.
totally.
And that's
Um,
why I'm like, it's just, but I don't know. I mean, I guess that's, that could be argued too. Like, well, how would that be any different if these kids read Slender Man in a book and believed in them? So, I mean, I
yeah,
guess I guess you could really argue anything. But I guess for me, like, I get so disappointed because I just love, like, I want to believe.
yeah,
I feel like somebody like pee in my corn flakes, like, when it's not real. I'm just like, oh,
yeah.
like,
I saw it. You
you know
got
what I
so
mean?
deflated after I told you it was
I
all made
really
up.
want, like, I'm like, that's such a mean thing to do.
Well, I'm going to share these two subreddits and then we can talk what we think. Because there was actually an interesting point that someone made. I think it might have been some contributors to the No Sleep subreddit, um, as well as, what's his name? Oh, I don't think Lon Strickler. He has the Phantoms and Monsters website, and he has
Oh,
a few
cool.
books out. So he also had some thoughts on this
Some
as
thoughts
well.
on it? Okay. Well, maybe
Um,
they'll bring it home for me. I'm just feeling
yeah.
all the emotions right now.
So I don't know. I'm just kind of enjoying the creepy stories because essentially that's what the rake
Well,
is.
I
It's a
think if
creepy
you know
story.
it's a creepy story, that's one thing. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know. You could argue it. So I
Yeah.
don't know. Okay,
I
sorry. Go ahead.
This one's still kind of fun because it's a creature that's out there in pop culture, but we know it's fake. So it's a little different than some
Well,
of the
some
other
of
things
us
we've
knew it was
covered.
fake. Some of us have just recently found out it was fake.
I I didn't realize how fake it was and how much of the like I thought it was a creepy pasta, but I didn't realize the level of some of those like missing files and things. Oh, but we found some excerpts here and there. I didn't realize the level of this.
And I'm that person. I'm like, figures the government covered it up.
Yeah, well, no, the second I was like, some internet sleuths just found all this stuff.
I was like, they didn't want us to know, just like with the aliens, and just like this. I thought I was gullible. I'm probably like the person they look for. I'm like, yes, I believe.
Well, we'll get into that.
I am that person.
After I share these accounts, let's get through these two subreddits. They're pretty short. So the first one, there's no dates on these, so I don't know where they're from. And I actually didn't find them on Reddit. They were referenced in some of the other sources that I'll share. Actually, I'll go ahead and mention them because a lot of times I forget to say it. I always tag them, but Paranormality Magazine is one of my sources. The Culture Crush, the Culture
Crack.
culturecrush.com, as well as Creepypasta itself. I actually went to the actual Creepypasta of the Rake.
Okay. She got the special ingredients.
I did. A little bit of lie.
Sprinkled with a little bit of lie. A lot of lie.
And some little bit of bullshit. Here we go.
A little bit of bullshit.
Where am I trying to go? Okay, here are my subreddits. Let's do it. All right, the first one. I hid my head under the blanket and stayed as still as possible. I could see a faint silhouette through the fabric. It looked like a hairless dog with a warped body with long, distorted arms. The creature walked across the floor and crawled out of sight. I could only assume that it had gone up the steps. I didn't sleep at all. I held still and refused to allow myself to move until dawn. My mother had come down the steps, confused and a bit aggravated. She had asked me to come upstairs and look at the wall. The walls had been covered with long scratches. The distance between the marks was large. The hands must have been at least 6 inches wide. We moved within the following weeks, and it wasn't until 4 years ago that I heard of the Rake.
That's more believable. If you don't know better.
Yeah. So I'm just the messenger. Here's another one. So I woke up at 3 a.m. to the feeling of something watching me. I felt extremely uneasy. I rolled over to look around the room and my eyes locked onto something standing beside my mom.
Ew.
Why is their mom just hanging out and creeping in their room?
I was thinking that too. But then, all three of us slept in the same bed. Just because we just tell stories and fall asleep.
Yeah, totally. That's true. Yeah. But mom was never just standing there.
No, that would be creepy. That's creepy in itself.
Yeah, it's like, maybe mom's possessed. I want to hear more about mom.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I have a lot of questions.
A lot of questions. It was extremely tall, but looked as if it had a broken back and couldn't stand up completely. It was slouched over and had extremely pale skin and bones sticking out under the skin everywhere due to how skinny it was. It had long claws hanging from both hands. Its face was sunken in and eyes were completely black holes. A few greasy hairs were visible on its head.
Greasy hairs.
I'm picturing like Gollum.
Yeah, I could see that.
It had no clothes, but also no genitals or nipples. I just had to share that one because of that. Like, that's how you end your encounter.
That's how it ended?
That's it. There again, Gollum.
Still more believable than the green shirt.
Yeah.
That was least believable.
Winnie the Poohing, the green
down
shirt.
The street, yeah.
Porky Pig in it.
Porky Pig in it. Yeah, no, that one is the worst.
Oh yeah. But so those are more stories of the Rake, supposedly. But actually one mention, some people, I've heard this with other like internet creatures that have been created. Some people are like, well, what if all of the attention, it becomes like a focusing object? What if that actually manifests these into reality? is what some people were alluding
I'm
to.
a
And I'm like,
believer in manifestations,
so I'm like, I just don't.
but I don't know if you, I mean, I don't know that you can necessarily like make this creature happen, but what if you do make it happen in a sense of bringing evil in, like Slender Man? And maybe like we should tell the story of Slender Man real quick.
Yeah, I mean, if
Just
you didn't want to cover
so,
it, we can really quickly
I mean, we
try it.
could just kind of briefly talk about what happened whenever basically, and don't quote me on this. This is just like a quick, if you're not familiar with Slender Man was a creepy pasta,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
And
we know it
so these
was as well, just like the rake.
girls, I guess like middle school age girls, like
Yeah,
young middle school age girls, really believed in Slender Man. And so they basically, the three of them went into the woods and they had like basically sacrificed their friend for Slender Man, or Slender Man would kill them and their family or something,
yeah.
something like that.
It's all like
And
Slender Man was telling them to do this to go kill their friend.
exactly. And so they ended up like stabbing this little girl a bunch of times, and like she ended up surviving. um and it was just this huge thing, but these kids like truly believed it, like
Or at least that's what they're
or
saying.
they said they truly believed it.
Yeah. So,
You could
yeah.
debate that too, but so I'm just saying, like, I think it can be debated that yes, like I don't think that you can, like, by believing in the rate, like you can make this an actual rate creature, but I think that you can bring forth evilness from it. People like with Slender Man, but then you could also argue, well, if these kids are people that wanted to do something evil anyway, then why wouldn't they just do it? So you could argue both sides of it, really, but I just think you have to be careful with things like that because one, I mean, it can, like, I think you have to know who your audience is too, and you need to, if it is a story, say it like a ghost story or whatever. Because, like, what if there is somebody gullible like me out there listening, and I want to like spend my whole summer looking for the rake? Like, that's something I would probably do. What if you wasted it? But I don't know. I guess I have different. Like, what is your take on it? I have different feelings about it. Truly,
I I just think it's impressive that they created a creature that really does strike a chord with everyone. And I think it was very smart to make it so similar to other known creatures, to where then you really can't decipher the truth at some point.
but you
Like,
don't think it's scary though, like when it gets out to that point, like you don't think there's any
well,
danger in it,
I think
or
Slenderman was more insidious. Like the rate is there. Like it's not telling people to do
to
anything
go
to
do
hurt
bad
themselves or
things?
hurt other
That's true.
people. It's just a creepy creature.
That's true.
I mean, yeah, it is irritating to a point though that it is completely made up. Just like a lot of people believe that all of these things are completely made up. Uh,
Right.
but
So like
damn, I
what
just
makes us believe in things like Bigfoot,
oh, don't even
the
get me started
paranormal,
on Bigfoot. There's evidence,
but
first of
like the
all.
paranormal, but like they could make up evidence for the rake. What's to say what
Good.
makes Bigfoot different from the rake, or aliens different from the rake, or the paranormal different from the rake? It's always because we always talk about of what we talk about. It's so hard, especially with the paranormal, to get that hard evidence that people want to see, feel, and touch. How, I guess, like, I get upset with things like the rake because, like, maybe like it makes me think, like, what if this stuff isn't true, and that makes me really sad. I
Yeah.
guess.
Well, I think what most of these things come down to, though, are actual experiences. You know what I mean? There really is a lack of evidence across all of these. Um,
Right.
it's just people's experiences of these. And then you have to either trust that that person is telling the truth or you don't believe them at all. I mean, it really just comes down to, do you believe them or not? Um,
That's hard.
but I think one thing that's helpful with a lot of these is it's people who are known. They're like, this is my name and this is where I saw it. But like these references, it's like, oh, it's just some random journal, an unnamed mariner, an unnamed group of
Yeah.
internet sleuths. Like,
You just have to be careful where you get your information from, I
yeah, like
guess.
the bullshit detector was going off already. And on top of it being on creepy pasta, like
Right.
I don't know.
I just think people like me want to believe so bad in evidence of the afterlife and like, like Nessie, Bigfoot, like I want to believe in those things. And so like sometimes it hurts my heart, like when it's not real.
I
And
mean,
I know that's so stupid and it sounds so simple, but it's true. And I think sometimes like I don't know, like and I think about all these ghost stories and things that we tell time and time and time and time again. Like they probably are creepy pasta, but they're still stories that we share like around the campfire or what have you, and they
yeah,
become a part of legend. So in that part, like the right is kind of neat because it kind of becomes a part of a story that you might tell to somebody. And
like the headless horseman.
yeah, and it becomes a part of like I think like a tale, not like
A
actual
creature.
evidence. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
So
I don't know.
yeah,
I
I'm kind
feel
of
a
on the
lot of.
fence with
I mean,
it.
it could be the Mucinex really clouding my judgment, but I feel a lot of things about it. I don't know
Yeah,
why, but I do. I feel some sort of way.
it is kind of
Especially
like,
when I thought that this poor kid, this lady, I'm like, she lost her husband and her daughter. Like, that pissed me off, man. Like, that made me, I'm like, oh,
and maybe it is something about the Rake story. Like it does hit a chord with a lot of people.
mm-hmm.
Um, what was there was a good quote, and sorry, I don't remember who said this. It is in one of my three sources that I named. But they said it's a good example of what could be considered a cultural virus, a story that has drawn on the subconscious fears and narratives of our society and blurred our conception of reality. So yeah, I think it this story does a great job of really hitting those things that you're kind of familiar with, but it's kind of different. It
Right.
just they did a good job on creating a believable creature, I
Yeah,
think,
they
and
did.
putting fake evidence out there.
Right.
So that was success for them. But I don't know. And then it always comes down to this has always been my stance on all of these creatures is if people are giving truthful experiences, yes, I do think people are seeing things that they cannot explain. Period. Now, these people were obviously made up and there were no accounts of experiencing the rake. I don't know about any of these new people or like subreddit posts at this point. I don't know if they're just completely fake or if it's like misidentification.
Right.
Like now, I don't know. Now it's almost like if I see anything tagged as the rake, I'm assuming it's just a lie.
Exactly. But like, what if it isn't? Like, what if somebody really has some evidence of something and now it kind of makes it all muddled? Kind of like when you see someone in need that doesn't really need the money,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
and it's like that. It's like, how do you know who really needs and who doesn't? And and how do if there's somebody who really did experience something bizarre or weird, but like you said, they tagged it with the rake. And so now every time I see anything associated with the rake too, I'm going to be like, it's a great story, but it's not real. But we can
yeah,
be really, it could be, like something worth investigating. So I don't
yeah.
know. I
I
mean,
don't
that's kind
know.
of how it is with cryptids. I mean, maybe that's just how it is with life, to be honest. Like the news outlets and the things we hear, like, isn't it kind of the same if you think about
Yeah,
it?
it's like, do
Like
you
what
reasonably
is
believe this, or
reality
you calling
and
bullshit on it?
exactly like what's reality and what's not reality anymore. I think that that's the scary part is we don't really know. It's
Yeah,
blurred. Like I feel like you would always hear stories like Headless Horseman and you knew like, oh, this is a story.
like that's
It's
a
a
fun
great story,
story.
but it's a story. You didn't think that the Headless Horseman would really be out here, or whatever. But now I think through all these social media outlets and things we have, I just feel like that line is just not as defined as it used to be, whether you're talking about cryptids, paranormal, or even politics or, news that's happening across the world. Like, what is the real reality? Look at Russia, for example. Like, the news that they get isn't real news at all. And so some of
Yeah,
them don't even believe that this war in Ukraine is even happening.
yeah,
And so it's a scary thing. I don't know, just in general, I think it's scary, no matter what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think also just because I am like a horror fan, I don't know, it kind of made me think of like the internet version of the Blair Witch Project.
Yes, that's a
So I was
very
kind of
good
like,
point.
I kind of like this. Like, you
Yeah,
made something that people were like, oh, this is entertainment, but could it be real? Like,
yeah, that's true. I mean, I have a lot of thoughts about it. Like, I could really
yeah,
see both sides of it, but I mean, I'm kind of glad that maybe it was not real, but I hope things haven't gotten cited or tagged and we're missing something that could be out there just because
yeah.
I'm a nerd.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely a
See,
polarizing, I guess, story.
it is
I'm not gonna call it a creature at this point. It's a story.
not a creature.
But
I
yeah.
still like the
Well,
Pez idea though.
the what I do?
The Pez idea.
Oh yeah, we should still totally make a pet dispenser.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm still in for that. But I don't know. Like, oh, and like you have people like me, and I was just like, yes. Like,
Yeah.
what kind of powers does it have? I don't know. I'm gonna re-listen to this when I'm better, and then maybe I'll have different thoughts about it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It it instantly, like, the description of it made me think of Chupacabra meets a Skinwalker meets like a Wendigo, maybe. Like, it made me think of so many things out there that we've heard of.
Right.
And I don't know. I always loved the Blair Witch Project. So like I was still kind of creeped out to go into the woods late at night.
Yeah,
Like,
it left well Blair Witch like left an imprint on us, like if you
yeah.
grew up with that, it was kind of like, oh, we're
So
gonna go camping.
maybe it's the nostalgia of it that makes me not as pissed at this story, because I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. It's like the internet version of that. Like,
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
but yeah, guys, the rake is fake. So if you have experienced anything that you think is the rake, maybe it wasn't the rake. Just
It's probably just
here's a
like a dead
PSA from
animal.
Stormy Willow: the rake is fake.
I'm sorry, guys.
But hope you
Please
enjoyed
don't waste your
Sarah's.
time investigating that. Just cross that one off the list.
Yep, no investigation needed. But hopefully you did get a kick out of seeing Sarah's reaction to finding out that this is completely fake. And that actually was what I was super excited about as I did my research. I was like, wow, this is like really, really fake. I can't wait to see Sarah's reaction to it.
You're so rotten. Oh my gosh. Well, sometimes this paranormal podcast turns into a comedy one. So I'm glad that I can provide that comedy relief that you were looking for when you broke the news to me ever so gently.
Yeah. Well, I told you, I said, are you ready for a bombshell? Everything you thought was the truth is a lie.
Yeah, I'm feeling some sort of way.
Well,
Oh my gosh, now I want pasta for dinner.
well, there you go.
I'm gonna make some creepy pasta.
Yeah.
Well, that was a really awful story, Adele. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I did not like that one at all.
It was the best of the worst.
It was awful.
Yeah.
You took my dreams and you
Just,
yeah.
just threw them on the floor and then smushed them.
Yeah, you did. You did that a little bit. Like you were going somewhere and then you just like
I think it was more like a
yeah.
complete, like, nope.
I feel like I've got some whiplash.
Yeah.
My neck hurts.
It wasn't me. It was the makers, who I don't know who they actually are.
Gosh.
Don't really care to find out either.
Crazy. Well, Adele, thank you for sharing that fun
Yeah,
fable with us.
no problem. It was fun.
Well, if you like what you heard, you can always follow us at stormywillow.com, where you can listen to episodes and kind of find out more about us. You can also find us on social media and wherever you listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening to our tale here today. And we'll be back next week with maybe a true story, maybe not a true story. You decide.
I'm sensing some payback coming my way.
No, listen, I'm the honest sister, so you know what Sarah tells you is the truth.
I told a true story about a fake creature. I told no lies here.
Oh my gosh. Well, you can trust me. Well, thank you for listening. We hope you have an amazing week. And as we stay here at Stormy Willow, what do we tell them, Adele? Stay
safe.
Stay safe, stay curious, and the rake is fake.
Yes.
Take care, listeners. We'll be back next week with more spooky stories.
Ooh.
Bye, you guys.
Sleep tight.